You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. What if I told you that the more available you make yourself, the less people value you? That the constant replies, the immediate answers, the endless presence you offer might actually be weakening your influence instead of strengthening it? It sounds backward, doesn't it? But the Stoics understood something most people miss. Absence, when used with intention, commands respect in a way that noise never can. In a world that rewards visibility, the Stoic chooses restraint. In a culture obsessed with instant access, the Stoic masters space. And here's the truth: you don't earn respect by chasing it. You earn it by embodying self-control so deeply that your presence feels earned, and your absence felt. In this video, you'll discover the Stoic way to make anyone respect your absence, not through manipulation, not through coldness, but through inner strength, boundaries, and quiet authority. If you've ever felt overlooked, taken for granted, or undervalued, this message is for you. Stay with me until the very end, because the final principle ties everything together. And once you understand it, you'll never give your time, energy, or presence away so freely again. Number 1. Master the art of selective availability. Mastering the art of selective availability begins with a simple but uncomfortable truth. You do not have to be accessible to everyone all the time. You have been conditioned to believe that quick replies equal kindness, that constant presence equals loyalty, that saying yes equals virtue. But pause for a moment. Breathe. Ask yourself who taught you that your time belongs to whoever demands it. The Stoics would challenge that assumption immediately. As Marcus Aurelius reminds you in Meditations, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That is not morbid, it is clarifying. Your time is finite, your attention is sacred, and when you scatter it without discretion, you dilute your own presence. Selective availability is not about arrogance or coldness. It is about intention. It is about choosing when and how you engage rather than reacting impulsively to every call, message, or expectation. When you are always available, your presence becomes predictable, almost automatic. Predictability breeds invisibility, but when you decide consciously when to step forward and when to step back, something shifts. People begin to feel the weight of your absence. They notice the space you occupy because it is no longer guaranteed. You must train yourself to resist the reflex to respond immediately. That twitch in your fingers, that urge to explain yourself, that subtle anxiety when you haven't replied, observe it. The Stoic teacher Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If a notification can dictate your emotional state, if another person's demand can hijack your focus, you are not mastering yourself. You are being mastered. So start small. Delay your responses deliberately, not to manipulate but to regain sovereignty over your own pace. Let silence stretch. Let urgency dissolve. Notice how the world does not collapse because you took your time. There is power in restraint. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Read that again. Waste is not always dramatic. It often looks like constant accessibility. It looks like entertaining every request, indulging every conversation, accommodating every interruption. Selective availability forces you to ask, is this worthy of my energy? Does this align with my values? Or am I simply afraid of disappointing someone? You cannot command respect for your absence if you are terrified of causing mild discomfort. Begin to establish invisible boundaries. You do not need to announce them loudly. Simply live them. Decide when you are reachable and when you are not. Decide what deserves an immediate answer and what can wait. Protect your mornings, your evenings, your deep work, your quiet hours. Guard them like a Stoic guards his character. When you consistently honor your own boundaries, others learn to honor them too, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. This practice will feel unnatural at first. You may experience guilt. You may fear being misunderstood. That is where Stoic discipline comes in. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice what is absent from that guidance: the need to be liked. Your responsibility is to act with integrity, not to chase approval. When you choose not to be constantly available, you are not rejecting people. You are prioritizing what is right for your mind and your mission. There is also a quiet magnetism in scarcity. When something is always present, it becomes background noise. When it appears deliberately, it commands attention. You do not need to announce your importance. You demonstrate it by how carefully you allocate yourself. Think of your time as a currency. Would you hand out your entire wallet to anyone who asked? Of course not, so why hand out your hours so freely? The Stoic understands value, and you must learn to value yourself enough to be selective. Practice the discipline of the pause. Before committing to anything, give yourself space. Say less. Breathe more. Internally ask, does this serve my highest priorities? If the answer is unclear, default to no. You can always reconsider later. This is not about isolation. It is about clarity. You want your yes to mean something. When you say yes rarely and thoughtfully, it carries weight. When you say yes to everything, it becomes hollow. Another exercise: schedule deliberate absence. Create periods where you are unreachable by choice. No checking, no responding, no explaining. Use that time to strengthen your inner world. Journal, reflect, read Stoic texts, revisit Epictetus, reminder that external things are not under your control, but your judgments are. Every time you resist the compulsion to be instantly available, you reinforce the belief that your worth is not tied to responsiveness. Pay attention to your motives. Are you always available because you genuinely want to serve, or because you crave validation? Be honest. The Stoics demanded radical self-examination. Seneca encouraged nightly reflection. Review your day and question your actions. Add this to your routine. At the end of each day, ask yourself where you gave your time freely and where you gave it out of fear. Over time, patterns will emerge. Awareness is the beginning of discipline. Selective availability also requires emotional steadiness. Some people may test your boundaries. They may interpret your absence as indifference. Do not rush to correct them. Remember Marcus Aurelius, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Their reaction is theirs. Your calm is yours. Stay grounded. If your absence is rooted in self-respect rather than ego, you have nothing to defend. You must also cultivate depth so that your presence, when offered, feels substantial. This is crucial. Absence only commands respect when presence carries value. Use your protected time to sharpen your skills, clarify your thoughts, strengthen your body, and deepen your character. Become someone whose energy feels centered, composed, and purposeful. When you reappear, do so fully, undistracted, engaged, intentional. Let your focus be sharp. Let your words be measured. That contrast, the difference between distracted accessibility and intentional presence, is what people feel. Remember, Stoicism is not about withdrawal from society. It is about participating wisely. You are not retreating, you are choosing your ground. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." If you wish to be respected, you must act like someone who respects their own time. That means embracing the discomfort of saying no. It means tolerating the silence after you decline. It means trusting that the right connections will endure your boundaries. So start today. Do not wait for a dramatic turning point. Delay one response. Decline one unnecessary obligation. Protect 1 hour fiercely. Notice how you feel. Notice the subtle shift in your posture, your breathing, your confidence. You are not withdrawing love. You are withdrawing excess. You are reclaiming your rhythm. Over time, you will find that your absence begins to speak. It communicates that you are not driven by impulse. It signals that you move with intention. It shows that your time is not cheap. And strangely, the more comfortable you become with being unavailable, the more powerful your presence becomes, because you are no longer showing up out of anxiety. You are showing up by choice. That is the Stoic way. Quiet, firm, unapologetic. You master yourself first, and when you do, the world adjusts. Number 2, stop over-explaining yourself. Stop over-explaining yourself. Let that sink in. You don't owe the world a detailed commentary on your choices, your timing, your silence, or your absence. Somewhere along the way, you may have picked up the habit of filling every gap with justification, as if your decisions need a courtroom defense. They don't. The more you explain, the more you unconsciously signal doubt. And doubt, when broadcast repeatedly, erodes the quiet authority you're trying to build. If you want people to respect your absence, you have to become comfortable letting your words end sooner than they want them to. You might feel the urge to clarify, to soften, to add "just so you know" or "I didn't mean it like that." Catch yourself there. That impulse is often fear wearing polite clothing, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being disliked, fear of losing approval. But as Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Read that again. He wasn't encouraging recklessness, he was pointing to freedom. When you stop scrambling to manage every perception, you gain something far more powerful than approval: self-command. Over-explaining is a subtle form of seeking control. You think if you just add one more sentence, one more clarification, you can shape how others interpret you. But here's the truth. You cannot fully govern someone else's mind. You can only govern your own. And when you try to manage every possible misunderstanding, you surrender your center. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That includes other people's opinions, especially their opinions. When you decide to speak less, to explain only once and then stop, something shifts. Your words gain weight. Scarcity creates gravity. If every decision you make is accompanied by paragraphs of reasoning, your presence starts to feel negotiable. But when you state your choice calmly and leave it there, you communicate something deeper than logic. You communicate certainty. This doesn't mean becoming cold or dismissive. Stoicism is not about arrogance, it's about discipline. You answer when necessary. You clarify when it truly serves understanding. But you don't unravel yourself trying to earn validation. You don't chase after every raised eyebrow. You don't scramble to soothe every discomfort. You speak. You pause. You let silence do some of the work. And yes, that pause may feel uncomfortable at first. You might sense tension in the space where you used to insert extra explanations. Good. Stay there. That tension is growth. You are breaking a habit of overcompensating. You are training yourself to tolerate being misunderstood, at least temporarily. Seneca warned, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Much of your over-explaining comes from imagined catastrophes, scenarios where someone thinks poorly of you and everything collapses. In reality, most people move on faster than you think. The storm in your head rarely materializes outside it. If you want others to respect your absence, you must first respect your own boundaries. When you announce that you won't be available, say it clearly, not defensively, not apologetically, clearly. Then stop. Notice the temptation to elaborate. Notice the itch to justify. Let it pass. You are practicing restraint. You are strengthening your inner spine. Here's an exercise for you. For the next week, limit your explanations to one sentence when you state a boundary or decision. One sentence, clean, direct. After that, no additions unless absolutely necessary. Feel the discomfort. Observe it without reacting. This is Stoic training in real time. You are learning to separate your worth from someone else's reaction. Another practice: before you respond to a question that feels intrusive or challenging, take one full breath. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Ask yourself, am I about to explain because it's useful or because I'm afraid? That single question will reveal more than you expect. If it's fear, shorten your response. If it's usefulness, speak with clarity and stop when clarity is achieved. Understand this: over-explaining dilutes mystery, and mystery creates presence. When people can predict every thought behind your actions because you've spelled it out endlessly, there is nothing left to interpret. But when you allow a small veil to remain, when you let your decisions stand without excessive commentary, you cultivate a quiet depth. People begin to sense that there is more beneath the surface. That depth commands respect without demanding it. You might worry that speaking less will make you seem distant. It won't if your words are thoughtful. The Stoic path is not silence for the sake of silence. It is intentional speech. Say what matters. Leave out what doesn't. Let your behavior reinforce your message. Consistency will speak louder than explanation ever could. Remember, absence gains power when it isn't dramatized. If you announce your withdrawal with elaborate reasoning, you shrink its impact. But if you step back calmly, without fanfare, without a manifesto, your absence becomes noticeable. It carries weight. People feel the shift because you didn't beg them to understand it. You trusted them to. There is also a deeper layer here. When you stop over-explaining, you start trusting yourself. You affirm internally, "My judgment is enough." That quiet affirmation builds confidence brick by brick. And confidence, the real kind, is rarely loud. It doesn't rush. It doesn't ramble. It stands. Try this reflection at the end of each day. Recall one moment when you resisted the urge to over-explain. Write down how it felt. Did the world end? Did chaos erupt? Or did the moment pass as most moments do? Track your progress. Celebrate small victories. This is how you rewire your patterns. You are not here to convince everyone. You are here to live with integrity. The Stoics understood that reputation is secondary to character. When you anchor yourself in that truth, explanations become tools rather than crutches. You use them when needed. You discard them when they become excessive. So begin today. Shorten your sentences. Trim the excess. Speak once. Mean it. Then let the silence settle. Allow others to sit with your words. Allow yourself to remain steady in the space that follows. The respect you seek will not come from persuasive speeches about why you matter. It will come from the quiet certainty that you do. And as you practice this discipline, you'll notice something subtle but profound. Your absence will start to feel intentional, not reactive. Deliberate, not defensive. People will sense that when you step away, it's because you chose to, not because you were pushed, not because you were flustered, not because you needed to explain yourself into exhaustion. That is the Stoic way. Calm, measured, unapologetic. You do not shrink. You do not chase. You do not over-explain. You stand in your decisions with composed restraint. And in that restraint, you become unforgettable. Number 3, detach emotionally before you detach physically. Detach emotionally before you detach physically. Let that sink in. You don't make your absence powerful by storming out, slamming doors, or dramatically announcing your departure. That's noise. That's hunger disguised as strength. Real detachment begins long before your body leaves the room. It starts in your thoughts, in the stories you tell yourself, in the silent negotiations you keep making in your own mind. The Stoics understood this deeply. As Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." If you're still emotionally entangled, still hoping, still reacting, still aching for validation, then leaving physically won't change much. You'll carry the attachment with you like a shadow. So your first task isn't to walk away. It's to loosen the grip inside your chest. You have to reclaim your inner posture. Right now, ask yourself, are you reacting or are you choosing? There's a difference. Reaction is automatic, emotional, urgent. Choice is deliberate, grounded, quiet. When you detach emotionally, you stop allowing someone else's behavior to dictate your internal state. You stop measuring your worth by their attention. You stop scanning for approval. This is where your power returns to you, not in distance, but in discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Read that again. Your strength does not come from disappearing. It comes from mastering the part of you that fears being forgotten. When you detach emotionally, you stop needing to prove anything. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to control how you're perceived. Instead, you begin practicing restraint. And restraint is magnetic. It unsettles those who are used to getting a rise out of you. It commands respect without asking for it. But don't confuse emotional detachment with coldness. You're not becoming indifferent to life. You're becoming disciplined with your energy. There's a difference between caring and clinging. Caring is stable. Clinging is anxious. When you cling, you overthink every word, every delay, every shift in tone. When you care from a grounded place, you remain steady whether attention is given or withheld. That steadiness is rare, and rarity breeds value. Here, where the work begins. Start by observing your impulses without obeying them. When you feel the urge to respond immediately, pause. When you feel the need to clarify yourself repeatedly, stay silent. When your mind begins crafting imaginary arguments, interrupt it. Say to yourself, "This is not within my control." Practice separating what you can govern from what you cannot. This is classic Stoic territory. Epictetus divided life into two categories: what is up to you and what is not. Your effort, your character, your choices, these are yours. Other people's reactions, opinions, and moods are not. The more you internalize this, the less emotionally entangled you become. Detachment also requires you to confront your fears. Are you afraid of being misunderstood, of being replaced, of being ignored? Good. Look at those fears directly. Write them down. Examine them. Ask yourself whether they are within your control. If they aren't, release them. If they are, improve yourself quietly and move forward. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most of the anxiety that keeps you attached exists in scenarios your mind invents. Stop rehearsing pain. Stop feeding hypothetical outcomes. Anchor yourself in the present moment. Another exercise: reduce emotional investment before reducing presence. This means you stop overgiving. You stop volunteering emotional labor that isn't reciprocated. You offer kindness, but you don't chase connection. You speak, but you don't over-explain. You participate, but you don't perform. Begin pulling your validation inward. Each time you accomplish something, acknowledge it privately. Each time you act with integrity, note it. Build self-respect internally so that you're not dependent on external applause. When your sense of worth becomes self-generated, your absence becomes potent because it's no longer desperate. You must also refine your internal dialogue. Notice how often your thoughts revolve around someone else's behavior. Catch yourself mid-thought. Redirect. Replace "why did they do that?" with "how do I choose to respond?" Replace "what do they think of me?" with "am I aligned with my principles?" Shift the focus back to your own conduct. That's Stoic discipline in action. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to look inward, to correct himself rather than criticize others. You can do the same. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Emotional detachment is not a single decision, it's a repeated practice. You will feel the pull to reattach. You will feel the itch to reach out, to clarify, to re-engage. When that happens, breathe. Count slowly. Ask yourself whether the action is coming from strength or from fear. If it's fear, wait. Let the emotion pass like a wave. You don't have to act on every feeling. In fact, discipline means you often won't. There's another layer to this. Detaching emotionally means accepting that you cannot control how others interpret your absence. Some may misunderstand it. Some may resent it. Some may not even notice immediately. That's fine. Your goal is not to manipulate perception. Your goal is to live in accordance with your values. The Stoics weren't concerned with popularity, they were concerned with virtue. If your withdrawal is rooted in self-respect and clarity, not pettiness or revenge, then it is aligned with virtue, and virtue is sufficient. Try this practical ritual for the next week. Practice what I call internal withdrawal. Without changing your physical presence, withdraw your need for reaction. Listen more than you speak. Offer fewer explanations. Let silences stretch. Observe without commentary. Notice how it feels. Notice the discomfort. Notice the freedom. You are training your nervous system to operate without constant emotional stimulation. That training builds composure. Then when you eventually reduce your physical presence, if you choose to, you will do so calmly, without announcement, without spectacle. You won't need to declare your boundaries loudly because your behavior will already reflect them. Your absence will not feel like punishment. It will feel like quiet consequence, and quiet consequence carries weight. Remember this: the goal isn't to make someone miss you. The goal is to make yourself whole without them. When you become internally sufficient, your presence becomes a gift rather than a plea. And when a gift is removed, it is felt. But that effect is a byproduct, not the aim. Focus on mastering yourself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Clean up your thoughts. Discipline them, refine them, detach emotionally first, strip away the neediness. Release the constant mental replay, reclaim your attention, guard it fiercely. Your attention is your life force. Wherever it goes, your energy follows, pull it back. Invest it in your growth, your discipline, your virtue. Then if you step away physically, you won't feel fragmented. You won't feel torn, you'll feel composed, solid, grounded in yourself. And that kind of absence, it isn't loud, it doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply is. And because it is calm, intentional, and self-contained, it commands a respect that noise never could. Number 4, let silence replace constant reassurance. Let silence replace constant reassurance. Let it. Not as a tactic, not as a performance, but as a discipline. You don't need to keep explaining yourself. You don't need to soften every edge of your absence with comforting words and constant updates. The impulse to reassure, to say, I'm still here, I still care, don't worry, often comes from your own discomfort, not from necessity. And if you're honest, you know that. You feel the urge rise in your chest when someone grows quiet, when their tone shifts, when space opens between you. You rush to fill it. You try to smooth it over. But what if you did? The Stoics would tell you to pause, to examine that urge. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That applies not only to conversations but to emotional reactions. When you constantly reassure, you're often speaking from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing relevance, fear of being replaced. And fear is not a stable foundation for respect. If you want your absence to carry weight, you must stop trying to make it lighter for everyone else. Respect grows in space, not in noise. When you repeatedly explain your boundaries, justify your quiet, or over-clarify your intentions, you train others to expect access. Immediate access, unlimited clarification, endless emotional availability. You become predictable in the worst way, always there, always smoothing, always fixing. And while that may feel generous, it quietly erodes the gravity of your presence. Because what is always available is rarely valued. You need to retrain yourself. Start small. The next time you feel the urge to send that extra message, the one that says, "Just making sure we're okay," pause, breathe in slowly, hold it. Then ask yourself, is this necessary, or am I soothing my own anxiety? This is your first practical exercise. Delay your reassurance by 10 minutes, just 10. Sit with the discomfort. Notice how your mind invents stories. Notice how it assumes rejection. Then do nothing. Let the silence stand. You will feel restless at first. That's normal. You are breaking a habit. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Constant reassurance is often neither fully right nor fully true. It exaggerates responsibility. It implies that you must manage other people's emotional states. You do not. You are responsible for your character, your choices, your conduct, not for cushioning every silence that arises. When you stop over-speaking, you return to what is within your control. That is Stoic strength. You might worry that silence will be misinterpreted. Good, let it be. Not cruel silence, not manipulative withdrawal, but grounded quiet, the kind that says without saying, "I am steady. I do not panic when there is space." That steadiness is intimidating in the best way. It signals that you are not scrambling for approval. You are not desperate for validation. You are composed, and composure commands respect more than reassurance ever will. Here is another exercise for you. For the next week, reduce your explanations by half. If you would normally send 4 sentences, send 2. If you would typically clarify every angle, state your position once and stop. Notice how often you feel tempted to add, "I hope that makes sense," or "I don't want you to think," cut it. Trust your clarity, trust your intention. Silence after a statement is not hostility, it is confidence. Seneca reminded us, "He who is brave is free." There is bravery in withholding unnecessary reassurance. There is freedom in letting others sit with their own interpretations. When you stop managing perceptions, you reclaim energy. You also create mystery. And mystery, whether people admit it or not, draws attention. When you are not constantly narrating your loyalty or reaffirming your place, others must confront the possibility of losing access to you. That possibility sharpens their awareness. Understand this clearly. Absence only has power when it is not constantly softened by digital noise and emotional disclaimers. If you disappear but keep sending signals that you are hovering nearby, your absence becomes hollow. But when you step back and remain silent, calmly, deliberately, you create contrast. Your presence gains texture because it is no longer assumed. You need to become comfortable being misunderstood temporarily. That's a hard truth. The Stoic path is not about immediate approval, it is about inner alignment. If you know your intentions are clean, your silence does not need decoration. Repeat that to yourself: my silence does not need decoration. Let that sentence anchor you. Now practice deliberate pauses in conversation. When someone seeks reassurance, don't rush to fill the gap. Count to 3 before responding. Feel the weight of your stillness. Keep your tone measured, short, clear. Then stop. This isn't about coldness. It's about emotional economy. Speak what is necessary and no more. Watch how your words begin to carry more significance simply because they are fewer. You will feel resistance. Part of you will whisper that you are being distant, that you are risking connection. But ask yourself, was constant reassurance truly building respect? Or was it building dependency? Respect flourishes when others recognize your self-sufficiency. When they see that you are grounded whether they applaud you or ignore you. When they sense that your calm does not fracture under pressure. Silence is not absence of care. It is absence of insecurity. There is a difference, and you must embody it. When you refrain from chasing reassurance, you signal that you trust the strength of your bond, or you are willing to let it weaken naturally. That willingness is powerful. It says, I will not beg for certainty. It says, if this connection requires constant proof, it is not stable. Take another exercise. Spend one evening entirely offline. No checking, no subtle signals, no reassurance loops. Sit with yourself. Journal what arises. Notice the craving to be seen, to be acknowledged, then challenge it. Ask, as Marcus Aurelius often did in his private reflections, whether this craving is essential or merely habitual. Most of the time it is habit, and habits can be reshaped. When you return after silence, return without apology. This is crucial. Do not over-explain your absence. Do not rush to justify. Simply re-enter with the same grounded energy you had before. Let your steadiness speak. Over time, people will recalibrate their expectations around you. They will understand that your presence is intentional, not automatic. An intentional presence feels earned. You are not withdrawing love. You are withdrawing excess reassurance. There's a difference. One is abandonment, the other is discipline. And discipline, practiced consistently, builds a quiet authority around you. Others may not articulate it, but they will feel it. They will notice that you do not scramble, you do not overcorrect, you do not plead. Respect is not demanded, it is observed. It forms when others witness your restraint. Your silence becomes a boundary without you having to declare it. And boundaries that are lived, not announced, are the strongest kind. So start today. Speak less, explain less, reassure less, trust more. Hold your ground in the quiet. Let others wonder a little. Let them feel the outline of your absence. Let them sit with it. In that space, something shifts. They begin to recognize your value not because you repeated it, but because it is no longer constantly available. And you grow steadier, less reactive, more composed. You stop chasing certainty and start embodying it. That is the Stoic way. Not loud, not dramatic, just firm, just calm. Just enough silence to remind the world that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. Number 5, set boundaries without announcing them. Set boundaries without announcing them. That sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? You've probably been taught that boundaries require speeches, declarations, long explanations about what you will and won't tolerate. But the Stoic way is quieter than that. It's steadier. It doesn't seek applause. It doesn't ask for permission. It simply changes behavior and lets the world adjust. When you stop over-explaining yourself and start acting from principle, people feel the shift. And that shift is what makes your absence powerful. You don't need to broadcast your limits. You need to embody them. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus reminded you, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. That line alone should change how you move through the world. When you constantly announce your boundaries, you leak power. You signal that you need validation for them. But when you calmly act according to your standards without fanfare, something different happens. There's gravity in it, a quiet firmness, and people instinctively respect gravity. Start by accepting this. You are not obligated to react to everything. You are not required to attend every demand, answer every message instantly, or absorb every emotional outburst. That reflex to respond immediately, that's where your boundaries dissolve. So begin there. Slow down your response time. Not out of spite, not to manipulate, but to reclaim your autonomy. When you pause before engaging, you're telling yourself that your time belongs to you first. That internal message is more important than any external announcement. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Read that again. Let it settle. Your boundary isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering your own participation. You cannot force someone to behave differently, but you can withdraw your energy. And when you do that consistently without drama, your absence becomes instructive. Notice how often you feel the urge to justify yourself, to say why you can't, to soften your no with layers of explanation. Stop doing that. A simple, calm refusal is enough. The more you explain, the more you invite negotiation. The Stoic approach is clean, brief, centered. You don't owe the world a thesis on your priorities. But this requires discipline. It's not easy to hold silence when someone presses you. It's not comfortable to let others misunderstand you. Yet this is where your growth lives. Seneca warned, "He who is brave is free." Freedom isn't loud, it's self-contained. Every time you resist the urge to over-defend your space, you practice that bravery, and slowly people begin to feel it. They recognize that pushing you yields nothing, no reaction, no emotional spill, just stillness. You must also detach from the need to be liked in every room. That desire erodes boundaries faster than anything else. When you crave approval, you bend, you stretch, you overextend, and then you resent it. Instead, train yourself to value self-respect more than immediate harmony. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. When your actions reflect your standards, even quietly, you move with coherence. That coherence is magnetic. Practice this deliberately. For the next week, choose one area of your life where you feel stretched thin. Do not announce that you're changing anything. Simply adjust your behavior. Reduce your availability, decline what drains you, speak less, offer fewer explanations. Watch how people respond. Some may test you at first. Stay steady. Boundaries become real through repetition, not proclamation. There's a powerful exercise you can adopt daily. Before engaging with anyone, ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, release the impulse to manage it. If the answer is yes, act with precision. This mental filter keeps you from being pulled into unnecessary emotional labor. It sharpens your presence. It conserves your energy. And conservation is crucial if you want your absence to carry weight. Another practice, rehearse saying less. Not in a cold way, but in a measured one. When you feel compelled to fill silence or smooth tension, pause instead. Count 3 breaths. Let the quiet stretch. This conditions you to tolerate discomfort without surrendering your ground. Over time, your silence stops feeling awkward. It starts feeling intentional. Understand this deeply. Boundaries are not walls, they are signals, but the strongest signals are behavioral. When you consistently disengage from disrespect, you teach people how to treat you, not through lectures, through absence, through restraint, through the quiet withdrawal of attention. There is also something transformative about refusing to chase closure. If someone misunderstands your limits, let them. If they label you distant, let them. Your job is not to manage their interpretation. Your job is to live according to reason. That is the Stoic path. When you stop scrambling to correct perceptions, you step into a higher frame. You become less reactive, more composed, harder to provoke. And here's the paradox. The less you explain your boundaries, the more seriously they are taken, because explanation often signals doubt. Calm action signals certainty. When you act without apology, people sense that this is not temporary, not emotional, not negotiable. Try this mental shift. Instead of thinking, I need them to understand my boundary, think, I need to uphold my standard. See the difference. One seeks external validation, the other builds internal strength. The second one will change your life. Every evening, reflect for 5 minutes. Ask yourself where you overextended, where you spoke too much, where you allowed something that didn't align with your values. Don't judge yourself, observe. Marcus Aurelius practiced nightly reflection for this very reason. Awareness creates adjustment, adjustment creates consistency, and consistency creates respect. Your absence becomes powerful when it is rare, deliberate, and calm, not dramatic, not punitive, just principled. When you stop reacting on impulse, stop explaining on demand, and stop negotiating your values, people feel the difference. They may not articulate it, but they sense it. Your energy becomes less accessible, more intentional, and that scarcity commands attention. So start today. Say less, explain less, react less. Stand firm internally before you act externally. Let your conduct speak. Let your restraint educate. Let your consistency train others without a single announcement. You don't need to declare your boundaries. You need to live them. And when you do, quietly and steadily, your absence will no longer be overlooked. It will be felt. Number 6, withdraw attention, not dignity. Withdraw attention, not dignity. That's the quiet line you must learn to walk, not storming out, not slamming doors, not delivering dramatic speeches designed to sting. Just a steady, deliberate pulling back of your energy. You stop feeding what drains you. You stop volunteering your presence where it is not valued. And you do it without bitterness in your voice or tension in your posture. This is not about punishment, it's about proportion. You give your attention where it is earned and you withhold it where it is wasted. That shift alone changes everything. You have to understand something. Attention is a form of currency. It is subtle, but it is powerful. Where your focus goes, value grows. When you constantly react, explain, chase, defend, and overclarify, you are investing in someone else's emotional volatility. You are telling them without words that they control your inner climate. The Stoics would shake their heads at this. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. That's not poetic fluff. It's instruction. Withdraw the part of you that tries to manage what you cannot govern. Keep your composure. Keep your standards. Keep your spine straight. Notice the distinction here. You are not shrinking. You are not sulking. You are not becoming passive-aggressive or cold. Dignity stays. That means your tone remains even. Your posture remains upright. Your responses remain measured. But your availability, that becomes selective. You don't jump to answer. You don't overextend. You don't offer emotional labor for free. You conserve yourself. And when you do this calmly, without theatrics, people feel it. They sense the vacuum where your attention used to be. Silence, when grounded in self-respect, is loud. Epictetus taught that if someone insults you and you are not harmed by it, then no harm has been done. Let that settle. If you don't react, if you don't scramble to restore your image, if you don't chase validation, then what power does disrespect really have? Most disrespect survives on reaction. It feeds on visible agitation. So starve it, not with contempt, with indifference. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone who cannot perceive it. You simply remove access to your time and your warmth. You step back. You redirect your focus inward and upward, but this requires discipline. Your impulse will be to explain yourself, to smooth things over, to regain harmony at any cost. Resist that urge. The Stoic path is rarely impulsive. It is intentional. Before you respond to anything that feels diminishing, pause, take one slow breath, then another. Feel the urge to react rise and fall. Tell yourself quietly, I control my response. That space between stimulus and reaction is where your dignity lives. Guard it. Now begin practicing conscious withdrawal. Start small. When you feel the pull to over-engage, don't. When you feel tempted to offer more than is necessary, scale back. Keep your responses brief and clear, not curt, just clean. There is strength in concision. Speak what needs to be said, then stop. Let silence do the rest. You'll notice something interesting. The less you chase understanding, the more it seeks you. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." There is bravery in restraint. It takes courage to be misunderstood temporarily. It takes strength to let someone sit with the absence of your attention. You will feel the discomfort of not fixing things instantly. Sit with it. That discomfort is the shedding of dependency. You are training yourself to need less approval, to need less reassurance, to need less applause. This does not mean you become aloof or hardened. Stoicism is not emotional starvation. It is emotional sovereignty. You still show warmth where it is mutual. You still give presence where it is honored, but you stop pouring into spaces that leak. You stop arguing with those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop volunteering your time where appreciation is absent. Quietly, firmly. There is a powerful exercise you can practice daily. At the end of each day, ask yourself, where did I overextend my attention? Where did I give energy that was not reciprocated or respected? Don't judge yourself, just observe. Awareness is step one. The next day, adjust slightly, withdraw a fraction, delay a response, offer less commentary, protect an hour of uninterrupted solitude. These are small acts, but they compound. Another exercise, rehearse neutrality. Imagine someone dismissing you or minimizing your effort. Visualize yourself hearing it. Feel the initial spark. Then see yourself nodding calmly, offering a composed response and moving on without emotional residue. This mental training strengthens your reflexes. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people act out of ignorance, not malice. When you internalize that, you stop taking things personally. And when you stop taking things personally, you stop overreacting. Understand this clearly. Your absence has weight only if your presence had value. So cultivate value. Develop your mind. Refine your habits. Deepen your discipline. When you withdraw attention, you are not creating emptiness. You are redirecting focus to self-mastery, and that radiates. People feel when someone is grounded in themselves. They feel when someone is not scrambling for approval. There will be moments when you question yourself. Am I being too distant? Am I overcorrecting? Check your motive. If you are withdrawing to manipulate, that is insecurity. If you are withdrawing to preserve peace and self-respect, that is wisdom. The difference lies in your internal state. Stay calm, stay measured, stay kind even in your distance. Practice controlled availability. You do not need to be accessible at all times. You do not need to respond instantly. Create pauses. Build rhythm into your engagement. This subtly signals that your time is structured, not scattered, and structure commands respect. Also, strengthen your internal dialogue. Replace thoughts like "they'll forget me" with "my worth is not dependent on constant visibility." Repeat it until it feels true, because it is. The Stoics understood impermanence deeply. They knew that clinging breeds anxiety. When you loosen your grip on being seen, heard, and acknowledged at all times, you become freer. Paradoxically, that freedom makes others more aware of you. Withdraw attention, not dignity. Let that be your mantra. You are not punishing. You are calibrating. You are not disappearing. You are refining access. Your silence is not sulking, it is self-possession. Your distance is not drama, it is discipline. So start today. Speak less, but say what matters. Engage less, but engage fully when you choose to. Protect your mornings, guard your focus. Pause before reacting. Reflect at night. Remind yourself of Epictetus' warning. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Sometimes withdrawal will be misunderstood. Accept that. Improvement is often invisible at first. You do not need to chase respect. You cultivate it by embodying steadiness, by being unmoved where others expect you to flinch, by stepping back without resentment, by maintaining composure even as you reduce access. That contrast, calm withdrawal paired with unwavering dignity, is unforgettable. And when you master this, you'll notice something subtle but powerful. The less you strain to hold attention, the more magnetic your presence becomes. Because it is no longer needy, it is chosen. And what is chosen, not forced, is always more valuable. So stand tall, breathe deeply, pull back where necessary, keep your integrity intact. Let your absence speak in the quiet language of self-respect. Number 7, break the habit of instant responses. Break the habit of instant responses. Yes, that tiny reflex, the twitch in your fingers, the compulsion to reply the moment a notification appears. That impulse is not harmless. It trains people to expect you on demand. It conditions them to believe your attention is permanently available, like a tap that never runs dry. And the Stoics would quietly shake their heads at that. Because when you surrender your timing, you surrender a piece of your authority. You don't need to announce your boundaries. You embody them. And one of the simplest, most powerful ways to do that is to slow down your responses. Epictetus reminds you, no man is free who is not master of himself. Notice what that means. If your mood shifts with every ping, if your focus fractures with every incoming message, if you feel a subtle anxiety when you haven't replied quickly enough, then who is in charge? Not you. Your environment is pulling the strings. You're reacting, not choosing. Respect begins with self-command, and self-command begins in the pause. When you respond instantly to everything, you unconsciously signal urgency, even when none exists. You teach others that you are always ready, always waiting, always accessible. There's no mystery, no weight to your attention. It becomes cheap through overexposure. But when you pause, when you take your time deliberately, you communicate something different. You communicate that your attention is valuable, that it must be earned, that you choose when to engage. This is not about playing games. It's about reclaiming sovereignty over your time. You must retrain yourself. Start small. The next time you feel the impulse to answer immediately, don't. Breathe. Let the urge rise and pass like a wave. Feel it, observe it, don't obey it. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The outside event is the notification, the message, the call. The power lies in your decision about when and how to respond. Stretch the pause. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You might feel restless. You might imagine negative interpretations forming in someone else's mind. Let them. That discomfort is simply withdrawal from a habit of over-availability. Stay with it. You are building discipline in the invisible space between stimulus and response. You don't exist to be instantly reachable. You exist to live deliberately. Begin practicing structured delays. Choose specific times of day when you check messages instead of constantly grazing on them. Even if you start with a modest boundary, perhaps waiting an hour before replying to non-urgent communication, you will feel a shift. Your mind will settle, your posture will change. There's a quiet dignity that comes from not scrambling to answer. Seneca said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." When you try to be instantly present for everyone, you dilute your presence. But when you become selective, your attention gains density. It becomes heavier, and people feel that. This is how your absence gains weight. It is no longer a gap, it becomes a statement. Now, don't confuse this with coldness. You are not ignoring people to manipulate them. You are disciplining yourself so that your engagement is intentional, not reflexive. There's a difference. One is reactive ego, the other is calm strength. Try this exercise. For the next 7 days, commit to a response window. Decide in advance when you will reply to messages, and outside that window, silence notifications. Not because you're unavailable, but because you are focused. When the urge to check arises, simply say to yourself, "I decide." Repeat it until it becomes internalized. I decide, not the device, not the expectation, not the fear of being misunderstood. you will notice something subtle happening. The less immediately you respond, the more carefully others compose their words to you. The energy shifts, conversations slow down, and when you do respond, your words carry more intention. This is power without aggression, authority without volume. Another practice: before replying to anything, ask yourself, is this the right time for me to engage? Not, will they be upset? Not, what will they think? But is this aligned with my priorities right now? If the answer is no, then wait. You are allowed to prioritize your inner order over external noise. The Stoics valued tranquility, not chaos. They guarded their mental space fiercely. You must do the same. When you break the habit of instant responses, you're not withdrawing from people. You're withdrawing from compulsion, and there's a profound difference. The world runs on urgency. You don't have to. You can move at a deliberate pace. You can let messages sit. You can allow silence to stretch without rushing to fill it. That silence does something. It creates anticipation. It creates gravity. It communicates that your life is not orbiting someone else's demands, but you must be consistent. If you respond instantly one day and disappear the next, that's erratic. Stoicism isn't about unpredictability, it's about steadiness. Choose your rhythm and keep it. Predictable calm is intimidating in its own quiet way. It says, I am not moved by pressure. Practice micro pauses even in conversation. When asked something, don't rush to fill the air. Take a breath. Let the question settle. Then answer slowly, thoughtfully. This trains your nervous system to detach from the need to prove your attentiveness instantly. It also signals confidence. People associate calm pacing with certainty. And here's another layer. When you stop responding instantly, you also give yourself space to craft better responses. You avoid emotional reactions. You strip out unnecessary explanations. You respond with clarity rather than impulse. Over time, your communication becomes sharper, leaner, more deliberate. You are shaping your presence. Remember this line from Marcus Aurelius: if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Instant replies often bypass reflection. They're quick, not considered. Breaking the habit gives you room to align your words with your values. And alignment breeds respect. You must understand something important. People respect what they cannot easily command. When you are instantly available, you are easily commanded, even unintentionally. When your time has structure, when your attention has boundaries, when your responses are measured, you become harder to take for granted. And that changes how people treat you. So start today. Delay, pause, breathe, let the world wait a little, not out of spite, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. Each time you resist the reflex to respond immediately, you strengthen a quiet muscle inside you. The muscle of restraint, the muscle of sovereignty, the muscle of calm. Over time, others will feel it. They won't always be able to explain it, but they will sense that you move differently, that you are not pulled, that you are not frantic, that your presence is chosen, not automatic. And when you are absent, that absence will speak. It will say, this person is not easily accessed. This person values their time. This person chooses when to appear. That is Stoic power. Number 8, make your time feel earned, not guaranteed. Make your time feel earned, not guaranteed. Let that settle in your chest for a moment. You are not a public utility. You are not a 24-hour convenience store for attention, validation, reassurance, or entertainment. And the more you allow yourself to be treated like one, the less your presence will be valued. The Stoics understood this deeply. Your time is not just minutes on a clock, it is your life in motion. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in his private notes, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That is not morbid. It is clarifying. When you truly absorb that truth, you stop scattering yourself so casually. You have to begin by respecting your own time before anyone else will. That means you no longer hand it out reflexively. You pause, you assess, you choose. When your availability becomes selective, it gains weight. Not because you are playing games, not because you are trying to manipulate anyone, but because you are finally acting in alignment with the reality that your energy is finite. And finite things, when handled with intention, become valuable. Epictetus put it plainly, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. So embody this one. Stop announcing that you are busy. Stop over-justifying why you cannot respond immediately. Stop scrambling to fill every silence. When you treat your time as precious, you do not need to defend it. You simply guard it quietly, firmly, without apology. You can begin with small, deliberate shifts. Do not reply instantly to every message. Let there be space, not as a tactic but as a boundary. Train yourself to ask, does this deserve my attention right now? That question alone will change your posture. Most people operate from impulse. You will operate from principle, and that difference is felt. When your time is guaranteed, people unconsciously relax their respect. They assume you will always be there, always available, always accommodating. Familiarity without boundaries breeds casualness. Casualness erodes reverence. But when your time must be earned through reciprocity, consistency, and genuine regard, something changes. Your presence begins to carry gravity. You do not chase. You do not overextend. You do not bend your schedule to prove your loyalty. Instead, you live your life fully, and others are invited into it, not entitled to it. That distinction is everything. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Read that again. You are not short on hours, you are often careless with them. And every careless hour trains people to see you as endlessly accessible. If you want your absence to be respected, your presence must first feel deliberate, chosen, intentional. Start practicing restraint. If you are always the one initiating, pull back. If you are always accommodating, recalibrate. If you are always explaining yourself, stop. Silence, when paired with dignity, communicates more than endless clarification ever will. You are not withdrawing love. You are withdrawing excess. This requires discipline. You will feel the urge to fill gaps. You will want to reassure. You will be tempted to make yourself readily available so you are not forgotten. Resist that urge. The Stoic path is not about clinging. It is about standing steady. When you are rooted in your own purpose, you do not fear temporary distance. You understand that what is aligned will remain and what is not will drift. To make your time feel earned, you must cultivate something worth earning. That means investing deeply in your own growth. Build your skills, strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, deepen your character. When your life is rich and structured around your own standards, your time naturally becomes scarcer, not artificially, authentically. Ask yourself each morning, what deserves my limited hours today? Write down 3 priorities that align with your long-term values. Protect them fiercely. If something threatens to derail them without good reason, decline it, calmly, without drama. You will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is the friction of self-respect forming. Another exercise, practice delayed response. Not out of indifference, but out of control. When someone reaches out, breathe. Count to 10. Ask whether responding now aligns with your priorities. This small pause reclaims your agency. Over time, you will stop reacting and start choosing. And here is something subtle but powerful. Do not overshare your schedule. Mystery is not manipulation, it is restraint. When people do not have constant access to your inner workings, they cannot take them for granted. You are not obligated to narrate your life in real time. You must also detach from the need to be constantly included. If your absence causes discomfort in others, let it. Do not rush to fix it. Let them feel the space you once filled. Let them notice the quiet. If you always rush back in, they will never understand your value. Distance clarifies what constant proximity obscures. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Add this, if it does not honor your time, do not accept it. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to prioritize yourself. You are allowed to step back. There is a paradox here. The less desperately you try to secure attention, the more naturally it flows toward you. When you are not clinging, you appear centered. When you are not chasing, you appear grounded. When you are not always available, your presence feels intentional. And intention commands respect. This is not about coldness. It is about composure. You can be warm and still be boundaried. You can be generous and still be selective. You can care deeply and still refuse to be constantly accessible. The Stoics never advocated emotional numbness. They advocated disciplined clarity. Practice this once a week. Schedule time that is completely yours, non-negotiable, no interruptions, no explanations. Protect it as if it were sacred because it is. Over time, this ritual reinforces a powerful message to yourself and others. Your time is not communal property. You are training the world how to treat you. Every immediate reply, every canceled priority, every overextended commitment is a lesson you are teaching. So teach something different. Teach steadiness. Teach boundaries. Teach value. Remember Epictetus' reminder, you become what you give your attention to. If you constantly give your attention away without discernment, you become scattered. If you guard it carefully, you become formidable. Do not fear being perceived as distant, fear being perceived as disposable. When your time is earned, your absence is felt. And when your absence is felt, your presence is respected. So step back when necessary, protect your hours, cultivate your purpose, speak less, choose more. And watch how the tone shifts, quietly, gradually, inevitably. Your time is your life, treat it like it matters. Number 9, cultivate purpose that doesn't revolve around others. You have to understand this. When your purpose is tied to the whims, the moods, or the approval of others, you are handing over the reins of your life to people who might not even realize they're holding them. You give power to their opinions, their schedules, their recognition, or worse, their absence. This is the silent drain of your energy, the invisible chain that keeps you tethered, always performing, always trying to measure up. Imagine waking up every morning with your own compass, not a borrowed map that shifts based on someone else's desires. This is what the Stoics meant when they spoke of living according to nature, your nature. Epictetus didn't say, "Seek to be praised by the world," he said. "Seek what is within your control and let everything else be indifferent." You must internalize this. You must start asking yourself, what is mine to do, mine to master, mine to shape? That is where your true purpose lies, not in someone else's calendar, not in their expectations, not in the fleeting nods of recognition that leave you hollow when they disappear. Begin with a deliberate exercise. Take a sheet of paper and write down everything that currently occupies your focus, your energy, your attention. Be brutal. Include the people whose approval you chase, the conversations that leave you anxious, the likes, the claps, the validations. Once it's all there, look at it and ask, does this matter to the trajectory of my life if no one else notices? Does my peace hinge on this? The instant realization that so much of your energy is being siphoned by things outside your control is liberating. You start to see the invisible strings that have been dictating your moods, your ambitions, your very self-esteem. And here is the powerful moment. You get to cut them. You get to redirect that energy towards something entirely yours, something impervious to the opinions of the uncommitted observer. Purpose that doesn't revolve around others requires a foundation rooted in self-reliance. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Every choice you make, every action you take should echo that principle. When your internal compass is aligned with virtue and reason, you no longer need the external applause. You no longer crave the nod of acknowledgement because your validation comes from the congruence between your actions and your principles. You build a life where your satisfaction is self-generated, where your joy is self-sustaining, where your absence becomes a silent statement. You are complete even without being noticed. This is a practice you strengthen daily. Begin small. Set one intention each morning that is entirely independent of others' expectations. Let it be something that stretches you, something that challenges your skill or discipline, not something that seeks attention. Perhaps it is a commitment to mastering a skill, to refining a craft, to writing, thinking, or creating in ways that fulfill you alone. Guard this intention. Defend it from distractions. Don't announce it. Don't wait for acknowledgement. Let it exist purely because it is yours. In doing so, you experience the subtle power of autonomy. You start to feel the quiet confidence that arises from knowing your life is being lived on your terms, not as a reflection or reaction to someone else's whims. You also need to confront the temptation to define yourself by others. It will whisper to you, they must see you. They must appreciate you. They must acknowledge your worth. Every time you hear this, take a deep breath and remind yourself, the approval you seek from others is fleeting, unreliable, and often shallow. Instead, anchor your identity in your actions, your principles, and your commitments. Ask yourself, is this action in alignment with who I want to become, or am I doing it to be seen? The answer will guide you. Stoic philosophy teaches that the only thing truly yours is your mind and how you choose to use it. Your purpose is not a reflection of applause. It is a projection of discipline, intention, and integrity. Another practical exercise is to schedule time blocks in your life that are untouched by others. Time devoted exclusively to personal growth, reflection, and creation is a declaration that your purpose is independent. Protect these blocks as sacred. During these periods, resist the urge to check notifications, respond to messages, or seek approval. Immerse yourself fully in what matters to you. Over time, this practice strengthens your sense of self-sufficiency. You will notice a shift. Absence no longer feels like vulnerability but becomes a form of presence. When you are absent, your influence remains, not because you're seen, but because you are unwavering in your pursuits, and that quiet dedication commands respect. You must also embrace patience in this process. Purpose detached from others' expectations is not something you conjure overnight. It develops in the silences, in the repeated choices that align with your values, in the discipline to act without external rewards. Remind yourself constantly, it is the consistency of your independent actions that builds the unseen authority others eventually recognize. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little but the man who craves more that is poor." If your sense of fulfillment is tethered to others, you are perpetually impoverished, always chasing, always lacking. But when your purpose originates within, you create inexhaustible wealth, a richness that cannot be borrowed, stolen, or denied. Ultimately, cultivating purpose that doesn't revolve around others is about becoming a self-contained ecosystem of meaning. Your actions, your growth, your joy, your discipline, these are your own. They are the invisible power that makes your absence meaningful. You will find that when you stop performing for others, when you stop seeking validation from outside sources, when you live in quiet alignment with your own principles, people start to notice. Not because you demand it, but because authenticity, mastery, and integrity have a magnetic weight. This is Stoic power in action. Your presence no longer needs to be constant. Your absence speaks volumes because it is grounded in unshakable self-respect and unshakable self-purpose. So start today. Write down what is yours to master. Guard your focus. Reject the subtle pull to live in others' shadows. Build a life whose trajectory is determined by your values, your efforts, your principles. Let your purpose be a lighthouse, steady and unwavering, illuminating your path even when no one else sees it. When you do this, absence is no longer empty. It becomes an instrument of respect, a testament to a life fully owned, fully lived, and fully untethered. Number 10, leave conversations at their peak, not their decline. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a conversation, laughter bouncing off the walls of your mind, ideas flowing like a river, the energy between you and the other person at its highest. You feel alive, engaged, connected. And yet, the moment you stay just a little too long, the conversation falters. The words begin to stumble. The energy thins, and suddenly, what was a vibrant connection turns into awkward silence or forced sentences. This is where the power of absence comes in, where mastery of timing transforms you from someone ordinary into someone unforgettable. Leaving conversations at their peak, rather than letting them decline, isn't just a tactic. It's a practice in self-discipline in presence and in controlling your own narrative. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you linger in moments that are fading, you risk staining the memory of that interaction with fatigue, boredom, or tension. You want to leave the mark of energy, engagement, and resonance, not exhaustion or resentment. This is subtle, almost invisible power, but it is deeply felt by those who encounter it. Think about what it means to leave at the peak. It's not about manipulation or trickery or playing games. It's about stewardship of your own energy. You recognize the rhythm of human connection, the ebb and flow, and you step back when the conversation is sparkling, when the exchange is fresh and lively. You don't let it decay into complaining, defensiveness, or repetition. By leaving on that high note, you imprint yourself in the other person's mind not just as a participant, but as a force that elevates, someone whose presence is valuable and whose absence is meaningful. You start to understand that your attention and time are finite, sacred resources, and that how you invest them signals to the world what you value. In a sense, you are teaching people, without speaking a word, that your energy isn't to be taken for granted, that you are not a vessel of endless supply, but a well whose water is refreshing precisely because it is limited. Seneca might say, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." By leaving conversations at their peak, you reclaim the time that is truly yours, using it to strengthen yourself, pursue purpose, or simply breathe. And here's the psychological magic of it. When people remember a conversation with you, they often recall the ending more vividly than the middle. That's why leaving at the peak matters. Your mind clings to the crescendo, the moment where ideas were brightest, laughter rang truest, or tension dissolved into connection. It is a simple law of human cognition. Endings carry weight. You are harnessing this law, intentionally sculpting how people will remember you. You're not just walking away. You are leaving a signature of energy, a lasting impression, a quiet demand for respect. You are silently saying, without arrogance or over-explanation, that your presence is meaningful and your absence will be noticed. The Stoics urge us to live deliberately, and this is deliberate living applied to social presence. It's about shaping your interactions with intention, about stepping out before the moment dies rather than letting it fizzle under the weight of overextension. Practice this. Start small. Notice the rhythm of conversations, the flow of engagement. Pay attention to when your energy peaks, when the other person is most animated, and when the exchange feels alive. Train yourself to leave before it wanes. You might feel the pull to linger, to squeeze one more thought, to chase the fading energy. That is precisely when discipline matters most. Recognize that restraint in this context is not withdrawal but power. Each time you leave at the height of energy, you build a muscle of presence, of control, of influence. Over time, people will unconsciously adjust to your rhythm. They will anticipate your presence as a boon, your departure as meaningful, and the subtle gravity of your absence will make them value you even more. And it's not only about leaving abruptly, it's about cultivating a mindset that values quality over quantity. You don't measure your impact by how long you talk, how many ideas you push, or how many words you string together. You measure it by resonance, by vitality, by the impression left behind. Every conversation is a canvas, and every word you speak adds color. You step back before smudging the painting. You leave it pristine, vibrant, and alive in the minds of others. This is a Stoic approach. Focus on what you can control, your energy, your timing, your choices, and release attachment to what you cannot. The other person's interpretation, the unfolding of the conversation, the inevitable drift of attention. Try a practical exercise. For the next week, consciously observe your conversations. Note when energy rises, when engagement is high. Set an intention to leave on that high note. Notice the difference in how people respond afterward, how your presence lingers, and how your own mind feels more centered and powerful. Combine this with another Stoic practice, reflection. At the end of each day, quietly consider, when did I speak at my best? When did I leave at my peak? Where did I extend unnecessarily? Over time, this reflection will refine your timing instinct into something almost instinctual, a natural rhythm that others notice even if they cannot articulate it. This principle also ties into the larger Stoic discipline of self-mastery. Epictetus teaches, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By controlling the timing of your departure, you are mastering yourself, your impulses, your energy, your presence. You are choosing when to engage fully and when to withdraw with purpose. You are not reactive, you are deliberate. And the result is a subtle, undeniable magnetism. People begin to respect your presence because it is precious, your absence because it is felt. They come to realize that interactions with you are not infinite. They are moments of quality, and moments of quality are to be treasured. So the next time you are in conversation, pay attention, feel the rhythm, notice the spark, and then, with calm confidence, leave. Not in anger, not in haste, not in uncertainty, but with the serenity and clarity of one who knows the value of their own energy. Exit at the peak. Leave the crescendo ringing. Let the memory of your presence linger like a melody in the minds of others. In doing this consistently, you are not just shaping conversations, you are shaping yourself. You are teaching the world the silent art of respect through absence, the Stoic way of commanding attention not by clinging, but by knowing when to release. Step into this practice, make it habitual, and watch how your interactions transform, how people remember you not for the length of your words, but for the weight of your presence and the undeniable resonance of leaving at the right moment. You are now not just present, you are unforgettable. When you master detachment, you stop chasing validation and start commanding respect without saying a word. You realize that your energy is precious, your time is sacred, and your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. The Stoics understood this deeply. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. So step back, let silence speak, let absence teach. When you no longer cling, you become unforgettable. And here's the truth. The moment you're willing to walk away calmly is the moment people begin to value when you stay. Master detachment and watch everything change.